I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
Ich bin ein Feeling.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable. This modern world of science and invention is of particular interest to women.
The people, I would say, there is no patent. Don't you patent the sun?
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
Welcome to the Biographers.
First and foremost, Akiva, finally, officially, you get to meet Charlotte, who obviously I have known for a very long time. Like,
tell me how y'all knew each other.
Did we not? Did I not tell you?
No.
Oh, okay. So Charlotte and I dated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
I was like, I could have sworn I told you this.
That's so funny.
So yeah, the whole thing was, so she and I met at a swimming pool. You were just telling this story to one of our friends when she came out to a karaoke thing. And so yeah, she and I met randomly at a pool. My roommate and I got invited to go to this, one of his friends' apartment, because he was like, oh dude, it's always hot and we have a pool, use it whenever you want to. So we went, and then,
my friends did the same thing with one of our other friends. They had access to the pool. And so we stole a fob and were always crashing that pool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And that's how we met.
Yeah.
And then it turned out we lived across the alleyway from each other.
Yeah.
In Capitol Hill. And then we did.
Nice.
And then we were not each other's person. And we went our separate ways. But stayed friends.
Yeah, for a long period of time.
I mean, it's evidence that it can happen.
It was, because it was one of those where it was like, I think we only went on like 3 dates or something like that, 3 or 4 dates. And then that was that. And then she literally lived in the apartment building next to me in Cap Hill. And it was, I think, probably like 6 months later, after we stopped seeing each other, that we ran into each other randomly somewhere and both kind of were like, I like you as a person. I just don't think we're like dating people.
I'm sure this is the most trite thing that you hear when you tell this story, but I don't know if I could do it. I mean, I had one friend, I think her name was Haley or something like that, from college. Yeah. And we had dated, and then she ended up getting a job as like a manager at Disney. And I remember when Shalene and I first got together, I posited the option of, hey, we should go hang out with Haley because she might help us get tickets into the other park, because we were at Disney in California.
You got to work those connections.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when the next question is who's Haley, and I have to explain who Haley is, that's when things get a little dicey. So you guys are, like I said, it's proof that it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes whatever. I don't know how to even say it.
We're both
like,
pretty chill people.
Yeah. And our spouses are too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was one of those where, and I'm sure Matt feels the same way because he's a cool dude, but it was one of those where, like, from the very beginning of Kat and I's relationship, it was like, we both understand that we have histories with other people, and that's not an indicator for our relationship currently. So, I think it was only probably like a year or so ago that, like, because Charlotte and I had kept in touch for a long period of time. And then it was one of those of like, hey, we should all actually hang out at some point. Mm-hmm. And so the 4 of us all hung out, and it was just like, from pretty much minute 1, we were all buddies, And
like, you had met Matt when me and him had started dating at
very briefly
dive bar that we would frequent.
Nice.
And then I remember when you got engaged, I helped you guys build out your registry.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, is that not an olive branch? If there ever was one.
At C&B, yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Just so funny. I remember it being like, oh my gosh, she's so great. I like her so much. And now we're friends.
So funny.
And Kat, like, teases me, and she's like, that Charlotte and I are like the same person. Right. And I was like, you are definitely not. You have a lot of like fun similarities.
Well, you know what? I can already see some similarities.
I'm like, you and Matt are the same person, but I also sometimes feel like me and you are the same person.
I agree. I think that's why we've always gotten along really well, Yeah. So anyways, well, hey, everybody, welcome to the Biographers. I'm Daniel Newman, hanging out obviously with Akiva Meola, but we're joined by a new face today. The one and only Miss Charlotte Stanley. who longtime listeners of the show have probably heard me mention my friend Charlotte a good amount of times throughout various random things. Charlotte has been listening to the show since really day one from the Mabel Dodge series. She I think texted me and was like, "Oh, I'm listening to this Mabel Dodge series as I'm gardening." So, yeah, longtime friend of the show and just a longtime friend of mine. We were just kind of talking about the sort of funny nature of her and I's friendship over the past close to 15 years now, I think.
Yeah, that's
something
correct.
like that. So yeah, it's been awesome. Been a long time. But for anybody that is curious, things are changing a little bit around here at the Biographers. So before I even say anything, Akiva, how about I turn it over to you and you can fill us in on some information here?
Yeah, okay, I'll point to camera here. Hi, guys. It's Akiva Meola, famed co-host of the Biographers podcast. So don't get mad, but I have had a wonderful opportunity given to me, not only through my own business, Metalwork by Meola, which has luckily been weirdly picking up despite my efforts to really let it fail, and Hardy and Fuller, which is a blacksmithing school here in Denver. It's really a metal maker space for all sorts of different skills that you want to learn or work on your own. This next year, there is going to be a really big increase in the amount of classes that I'm going to be teaching. When I first started the Biographers podcast, the only student really that I had besides Jamie was Daniel. Daniel was my first student that I'd ever had. He met me when he was taking a class from one of my mentors, and he really wanted to learn how to make one of my knives. I did not feel like I was going to ever be a teacher in any real professional capacity. And then I started to realize I really liked it. Teaching has fulfilled me in a really fantastic way. I have experienced joy and burnout through personal knife making, but I've noticed that lighting the fire in on another person's candle, so to speak, when I get to teach them and get them excited about knife making has really been a calling for me. And I've been working with Hardy and Fuller for the last, it's got to be 2 years now.
Yeah,
close
I think so.
To 2 years. And when I first started, I was teaching maybe once or twice a month. But as things have picked up and as the business has gotten bigger, I've been teaching more and more. And, these last couple months, I've really allowed my passion for history to keep me pushing towards working on the Biographers. But it has slowly and more had made a little bit less sense for my own personal life. So I've got one more season for you guys. I'm going to be covering famed Emperor Marcus Aurelius. But after that season, we are going to be handing off the torch to Daniel's good friend and longtime fan, Charlotte. So it will no longer be Daniel and Akiva quite so much. Maybe I'll pop in for an episode here or there just to chat with the folks.
Yeah.
Charlotte is going to be passing on the torch and doing my part to keep the Biographers alive. So
yeah,
I'm very excited.
I am very, very excited. I genuinely, by the way, guys, I could not have picked a better person to take the stage as the next co-host here at the Biographers. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening. It's not the end, of course. I'm going to get all emotional, even though I have like 4 more episodes to record. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I appreciate all the support.
Yeah, totally. And so obviously a bit of heavy hearting, right? Because we don't want to see Akiva go. But I will say, Charlotte, if you didn't know this, Akiva and I have talked about it too. He's being very sincere. He is very excited. I've been very sincere. I'm very excited. And I've also, on a slightly funnier note, even Kat and I were talking about this and the whole idea of like, it has been a little bit of a sausage party in here for a little while, especially when we're talking about
and now the
female
logo is going to
subjects.
make sense again.
That is true.
We kept on telling ourselves we were going to change the logo. I tried to rope Shalana into it, but Shalana couldn't be bothered to draw me. So now we're going to have the logo make sense again. So that's great.
That's true. But yeah, especially when we're talking about female subjects, when we were talking about Marilyn Monroe or even Wu Zhao, we did our best to, put ourselves into the feminist lens and be like, hey, here's maybe the perspective from a woman's point of view. But it'll be nice to actually have somebody who is a woman who we can bounce this stuff off of rather than make educated guesses.
I'm happy.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to provide that.
Yeah. So we're excited to have
I think
you
it's a much needed perspective. Right. And I think just the takeaway here has been a decision between two very good choices, and it was an incredibly difficult decision to make this choice. I mean, Daniel probably can count on all his hands and toes the amount of times that I've talked about how much I loved the show and how much it was stressing me out with my current work schedule. So it took a lot of like evaluation to realize that this was like the next move for me. But I like I said, this has been a decision between two fantastic things in my life: my time as an educator, and then my time as a infotainment guy here online. You know, this has been a big choice, and I'm really excited for the next chapter. But sometimes you got to drop one thing in order to pick up another. In this case, it's going to be a big freaking hammer.
Totally.
So, very bittersweet.
Very bittersweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, the kind of plan here, everybody, if you're curious, is we're bringing Charlotte in here for this episode of Office Hours, and then we're also going to have Charlotte here for the remainder of Akiva's full next series throughout Marcus Aurelius. And the intention really is just so that, you know, it's not a harsh transition from like, well, bye Akiva, here's this new person. It's we call it a warm handoff. That's what we used to say when I worked at the Apple store. They're like, it's a warm handoff. You know, you like fully introduce somebody and then no, go work with that person. So
yeah.
Not
100%.
letting the door hit you on the way out.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the idea here. But I mean, with that, I don't know. I'm sure, Charlotte, you don't have anything necessarily prepared, but if you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself,
introduce
maybe.
yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, 10-second biography. Grew up in the Seattle area. Went to school in Massachusetts. I think Dan already mentioned I went to a small liberal arts college called Smith College. And I'm very involved with the club that's here in Denver. And I love history. I love arts, which is probably one of the reasons I really love Maple Dodge Lujan. I love skiing, hiking, being outdoors, you know, classic Colorado stuff.
And of course your dogs.
And my dogs. I'm a dog mom. I am that person. Sorry to say
History-wise, question for you.
Yeah.
Is there like a particular time in history that really speaks to you? Or is there a particular type of person? Daniel and I have talked about this. Like Daniel likes the rootin' tootin' guys. I like the wizards, right? Is there like a specific archetype that really draws you in, or a time of history that pulls you in? Just so people can get an idea of that.
I guess I like the 1800s, and I'm drawn to like quiet history makers, which is probably why I kind of like Maple Dodge Lujan so much. But like I'm obsessed with Jane Austen. Kat and I share that, and like Sophia Smith. I could go on about a bunch of other like women history people, but
who is Sophia Smith? I don't even know.
Sophia Smith was the one who founded Smith College, and she grew up with a wealthy farming family in Massachusetts, but she actually like never married, never had kids. But when her older brother passed away without heirs, she inherited a huge fortune, and she was devoutly religious. So she talked to her pastor and some of the other like male influences in her life about what to do with her money. One of them wanted her to donate her funds to Amherst College, which had been set up. And another one said, well, you should maybe look into like creating your own college. And so the college actually opened after she passed away, but it's one of the largest women's colleges in the nation. And
I was going to say, I feel like you're underselling it, being like, I went to a small liberal arts school called Smith. I feel like most people are like,
yeah, if most people went to Smith, they're like, I want to tell people.
I don't know. I mean, we had a lot of really amazing people come out of the college. And so it's like a fun.
What did you study there, if I might ask?
I actually studied government with a focus on American government. And then I also studied environmental science and public policy. So that's my background. Nice. I also went into Smith as a declared arts major. And then I realized I didn't like the long studio hours.
Yeah. I totally get it.
What, like in arts specifically? I don't even know if I've ever asked you this.
I was going to be a painter. That was my thing. I loved watercolor and like acrylic painting. So that was my focus. I was also debating double majoring in art history because I thought long term it would be really cool to be like an art history lawyer, someone who could go into Christie's.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And really like dig into like the provenance of various things at auction.
That'd be pretty cool.
Wow. That's super cool. Yeah, art history is definitely one of mine as well. Like for me, I was, undeclared, right? And I never got to finish my college just for, funding reasons or whatever. But the things that I studied was, ethnic studies, cultural anthropology, and art history, which are like my big three favorite. And it's all kind of shaped the lens of like what I'm interested in history wise, how I see the world. Yeah, so I think that's really fantastic.
And those three things are like a really solid Venn diagram in terms of like,
right?
Ethnic studies, kind of cultural, anthropology, like how societies make items
culture
in art, honestly.
Yeah,
totally. It's funny because that was one of the only subjects in college that I actually genuinely thought maybe I could go and get a degree in was art history. And then the more that I thought about it was like, but what the hell would I do with this? Like what actually would be the career path? I find it fascinating. And I like all of the, sort of code, if that makes sense, right? In art, especially when it came to like medieval art and there were colors assigned to different ideas. So if somebody painted in purple, it was like automatically you knew the subject is somehow royal. It's related to royalty, stuff like that. Yeah. I loved, but just went like, where am I going to go? Like, I don't really want to be a college
art
professor.
historian,
Like, how am I going to manage this? Yeah.
But that's just so fascinating about that too, is just like the study of culture through objects has always fascinated me. The one I always bring up is like, if you showed a person on the other side of the planet a small carton of chocolate milk, they'd be like, what is this tiny milk? But if you show that to an American, immediately they think, oh, school lunch. I have all of these different associations. And there's so many givens that a culture has that translate to their items that, may be completely foreign to me. And it's super fascinating, like digging through that, whether it's in the present with stuff like ethnic studies or whether it's in the past with stuff like, art history or cultural anthropology. So
totally. And also, speaking of one additional change, pretty excited. We have, technically speaking, like a new member of the team, so to speak. So I'll preface it and then I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. So at this point, probably close to 3 or 4 months ago, we had somebody reach out to us who initially said they got into the show because they were a fan of the show and said that their full-time job was doing historical research. And they essentially said, can I help do research for you? I would love to find firsthand source material to help you create these series. And we eventually connected, got onto a Zoom call, had a really great conversation, and she has already delivered, I think it was like a 6 or 7 page document, wasn't it, Akiva?
Yes, it was. Absolutely
Specifically
stunning.
Related to Marcus Aurelius. So want to give a massive thank you and warm introduction. I'll ask her about if we can get a picture of her that we can pop up onto the video at least. Yeah. But her name is Alana Drapczynski. Or Drapczynski. And I did very specifically, she's going to laugh because I emailed her very specifically to ask about how to pronounce her name. I was like, is it Drapczynski or Drapczynski? And she was like, either. And I was like, okay. No. You like, come on, there has to be a more correct way. And she was like, no, my family debates on how to actually say my name. But she said more of the A is how she generally says it, Drapczynski. So hopefully I'm saying that correct.
Probably a personal question.
I don't know, honestly. Yeah. We didn't get into religion.
Her and I will chat about it. Yeah. It's actually, I've heard it's bad form to just straight up ask your coworkers what they believe in when it comes to God.
Hey, we're really grateful to have you on here. By the way, are you a Jew?
It's a very important question. Like, don't even follow it up like as if you're interested. Just like completely leave them in the blank as to what your opinion on Jewish people are. Just, are you a Jew? Yes or no? You need to answer now.
How do you feel about Kugel?
I actually love Kugel. Kugel is one of my favorites. We didn't have it a lot because my family's Sephardic, which is like the Hispanic Jews. So mostly we have better food, I'd say, than the European Jews. But Kugel.
I've also heard
if you're in the Denver area, Bagel Deli, favorite.
I've been hearing about it.
It's so good.
It's really good.
Okay,
it's like $15 a sandwich.
Okay,
I gotta say, Zadie's. you guys have kind of failed me with the new addition, the expansion. I think they're trying to cover costs of getting the bigger place with the sandwich costs. Bagel Deli's been open since 1967. They're so old they give you a discount if you pay in cash.
Nice.
Every person who works there looks like they have been working there since Moses parted the Red Seas, and their sandwiches are absolutely incredible. So.
It's the one part of Denver that reminds me of the East Coast.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
So I got to be honest, I was in New Jersey last week for work, and I went to this, I very specifically tried to find at off the beaten path, not on a main road, teeny tiny little deli that made sandwiches. And I'll have to find out what the name of it was, but it was so freaking good, dude. I got 2 sandwiches because I wanted to try 2 different ones. I always got to try the Italian because, come on,
of course,
But the other one I tried, it was fried chicken cutlets with...
Forget about it. I'm already in. I'm in.
With balsamic glaze, broccoli rabe that was sauteed with garlic and stuff. And then it had crispy prosciutto and then fresh Parmesan.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Dude, I
am a pastrami man all the way through, but give me a chicken cutlet and I will tear it up no matter what I've eaten. I could have eaten 10 pounds of gravel and I'm stuffed to my back gills and I would eat a chicken cutlet any day.
It was really, really sensational. This was in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Yeah, that checks out.
Correct.
Which, most
of my family's from.
I miss deli culture. It was such a thing in Massachusetts, which a lot of people wouldn't assume, but.
No, totally. 100%.
The East Coast is just a big deli culture. You know what I mean?
Well, there's also a huge Jewish population in Massachusetts.
And
right?
Italian.
Yeah. And Italian, right? Which I am both, as you probably surmised from listening to the series. So I really do miss that. I also just miss a place that is not trying to be fancy and is just trying to be good. And the sandwiches cost what you think the sandwiches should cost.
Totally.
Every time you go and eat in Denver, it's always $60 for not enough food. And there's maybe 5 places that I go to that I don't feel like I'm slightly being scammed when I eat there. And Bagel Deli is probably one of them.
Yeah, I want to say that this little place that I went to in Parsippany, New Jersey, it's just fun to say, by the way.
Parsippany.
2 big fat sandwiches, thick in the center, and they were a foot long, and I think total with a bottle of water, it was $30.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
not bad.
Good.
Not bad for East Coast too.
I mean, there's a Philly cheesesteak place in Denver that's amazing, which Charlotte, by the way, and Akiva too, if you're interested, want to take both of you guys because it's so friggin' good. But one of their sandwiches is $22. So it's one of those where again, you go over there and I'm 2 delicious sandwiches for almost the price of that one single sandwich.
Yeah.
I went somewhere that was really highly recommended on the Denver food subreddit. And as the best deli place. I swiped my card for over $50 and it was the most mediocre sandwich of my life.
Are we going to burn them? You got to tell me.
Oh, I'm not going to do it on. I don't want the Denver rep.
I just think, you know what? A bad sandwich the world needs to know.
No, I'm so ready for you to be this is who they are. Don't go there. This is my opinion.
Their pastries were good. I will give them that. And they're one of the few places that will make a lobster tail. So I don't want to burn them too much. I don't want to be banned.
Okay. If there's something that you like on the menu, then we'll respect it. But if it was all bad, then I would push you to
I want you to tell me so bad.
I'll tell you later.
Off the air. Okay.
Fine.
We got to respect the restaurants.
I mean, I say yes, but also no at the same time where I'm if you are getting praise somewhere, I'm at this point now where I don't trust TikTok influencers that are you got to go to this place. It's so delicious. And it's this perfectly curated video. Cause I'm I know you're getting paid to do this stuff and say this stuff.
Yeah. So and even if they're not, a lot of the time they just like the cutesy shit that looks good on camera.
Correct.
Or they're getting comped somehow.
I remember there was this food writer out in LA named Jeffrey Gold who his whole thing, and a lot of people loved him in the food community because he was I don't care about your service. I don't care what your restaurant is like. I don't care what the plates look like. If your food is good, I'm going to go there and I'm going to tell everybody how delicious it is. That's all I care about. So I'm pretty much with him 99% of the way. I don't want it to be a filthy establishment, but beyond that, like, yeah, dude, if you're making good food, I don't care. I just want to go and eat this good food. So that's why these TikTok videos annoy me, where I'm like, I don't want your bullshit video telling me that something is delicious when it's not actually delicious, you know? Yeah. So I'm ready to burn people that do that kind of crap, that are making mediocre food, making mid sandwiches, you know?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, fine. But Charlotte, seriously, I'll respect your
if you want to be kind. I see that now that we've handed over the torch, the Biographers is going down the toilet because you decided you want to be nice to people.
So funny, because I feel like I'm the mean person. Like, I'm the black cat in my relationship.
Man, I don't know if I would ever consider you a mean person, but you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely the golden retriever, but I like to complain. And if it is food that I paid too much for, it's probably the easiest way for me to start complaining.
Completely agree. I love a good complaint, which is one of the reasons I love Larry David. But well, we are here in office hours, which usually means we go over some kind of points of correction and whatnot. So you want to get into those real quick?
Sure.
All right. So again, if anybody's new to office hours, the way that we generally try to do this is throughout the entire previous series that we just did. In this case, it's Wu Zhao. We ask questions along the way, or we ask for points of clarification that we just don't know. So I'll generally try to write them down and then get answers and then follow up on those answers here. So we don't have a ton for this series on Wu Zhao, but there are a small handful. So first one is going to be in Wu Zhao episode 2. Akiva, you mentioned something about how in Chinese mythology, jade came from the semen of dragons. Remember that?
I'm so nervous for this correction, because if I'm wrong about this, that just sounds so terrible for me to assume.
No, you are 100% correct.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
So in certain strands of Chinese mythology, jade is believed to have come from dried or congealed semen from the celestial dragon, which was a water deity. Yeah. And it represented the supreme yang, the male energy, right? However,
Supreme Yang is what they called me in high school. Continue.
I take issue with that only because the high school that I went to was 62% Asian. That was my graduating class. And
was there a Supreme Yang?
No, they were all very neutral Yangs. They were all, it was a large variety of Yangs with different spellings too. Anyway, it is important to note though, that this is in fact Chinese mythological writing. The word for essence and semen can blur together. So the idea of a dragon just like jizzing making jade is slightly exaggerated in Western thinking. So like, you know, like it coming from strictly jizz, right, is not necessarily accurate. It's more of saying their essence.
But I mean, if you look at jade, like you get a good look at jade, there is a slight, you know, sickly, toxic sludge jizz quality to it, you know?
I don't think I've ever looked at jade and gone, is that cum?
Well, when I learned it, so the reason why I know this was because I bought my girlfriend in high school a jade necklace, and I was very into like mineral stuff, right? Okay. And I would like looked up like, what is the significance? Because she got me like a peridot, whatever, right? My birthstone. And then I got her jade and I looked it up and I was like, this is dragon cum. That's great. Like, I'm so glad that I got you this fantastic gift.
I gave my girlfriend in high school the old jade necklace, if you know what I mean. Oh, God. Sorry. Had to. It was right there.
That sounds like something that was in that book that Wu Zhao would have liked so much.
Charlotte, are you up to date on the Wu Zhao series?
Pretty up to date.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get an idea of the vibe of Wu Zhao and what was going on.
Yes.
There was a lot of gross sex.
It was like
stuff.
The 70s, but like stuff. 100% more murder.
Lots of butt stuff.
Lots of butt stuff.
Lots of butt stuff.
Lots of like, you know, oh, I accidentally pissed on your face. It's just like
accidentally.
God, it's so gross.
Yeah, hopefully, you know what? I'm really hoping that you can just take this diving ship and just pull up, you know, before it's too late. Okay.
Hey man, this ship is not diving. It is in steady cruise control, autopilot. But anyway, to add to this, additionally, there are alternative versions of this whole mythology when it comes to jade and dragons. Alternate versions say that upon the dragon seeing the suffering of innocent people, he wept. And then when his tears hit earth, they turned to jade. So there are multiple versions of potentially where that came from.
Okay.
The latter is a much nicer.
I like that. You know what? I
iteration,
like that.
I think.
That's kind of beautiful.
All right, so next one here this is again from Wu Zhao Part 2. We talked about the yin and yang symbol, and we weren't quite sure where it originated or from what religion. So the symbol for yin and yang can be traced back all the way to 4500 BCE and is a symbol that is deeply rooted and connected to Chinese culture and philosophy. As a result, it has been a part of every major religion that subsequently made its way to China, namely Confucianism, which dates back to 500 BCE, Taoism, which dates back to around 450, so about 50 years later, and then Buddhism, which started in obviously India, and then around 250 BCE, it started making its way into, it started in 250 in India and then made its way into China around 200, so like 50 years after that.
Okay.
So essentially, the yin and yang symbol has less to do with any specific religion, and then everything to do with the Chinese culture and philosophy. So there you go.
Good to know. Yeah, I was curious about that one because I feel like I've seen that through a bunch of different Eastern religions. So
yeah, for sure. I do think it's really funny though. It's like there are many tattoos that I think are funny, right? Like there's ones that we can stereotype and whatever, like any Chinese symbols on somebody, unless you're Chinese. I'm sorry. I think it's tacky. I think unless it's done in some level of irony, no more dolphins, no more butterflies. You know what I mean? But whatever, to each their own. I'm not trying to hate on you too much.
My sister has both a dolphin and a butterfly tattoo.
No, she does not.
Right now.
Oh my God.
That is so funny. Oh my God, I gotta tell her that.
Sorry, Gabi. Love you.
I'm so glad
she got it to
that butterfly.
I think she got it to cover up like a stick and poke tattoo or something. I can't remember.
That's fair. That's
super funny.
But anyways, I also would put the yin and yang in that category because I also don't think that most people quite understand. Like they see it as like, well, it's balance. It's just, making sure there's a balance. And I'm like,
there's so much cultural context that you're missing by just literally not living and existing somewhere where this is a regularly used symbol.
Right. Like, and in essence, like if you boiled it down or distilled it to its most bare minimum essence, okay, I guess you can say that it is about things being in balance.
But it's a little Orientalism. Just
really
the hint.
is,
I'm not hating, right? If you like it, you like it, whatever. But I get a little bit of a vibe. It's kind of like as a Jew when I see, white ladies walking around with the chamsa, and they don't know. And I'm like, I know you're thinking yoga, but it's like a completely different region.
Yeah.
Like
I took Taekwondo as a kid and it was definitely taught by an older white guy. And I remember we had the yin and yang up on the wall and he would always be like, balance. And so.
Yeah.
He just picked that up from one of his tours in Vietnam and just kind of stuck with it since.
To me, I think the funniest is that especially after going through Wu Zhao and learning about this whole thing of like, and in balance, but even throughout most of Chinese history, most people in China were like, and we all have a very severe imbalance. And the way we need to balance it out through sex. And by the way, through prepubescent people, essentially, that's how we balance it out because we want virgins. Like, now we get into this territory of being like, oh, gross, dude. Like now yin and yang feels dirty.
They always come up with an excuse for it, man.
Yeah, but
it was like I told you about Rasputin during right?
I'm sure maybe, but refresh my memory.
Yeah. So Rasputin was this like occultist priest that one of the czars hired, and like his whole idea.
The third or second?
Yeah,
something like that.
I can't remember. But the czar's wife really liked him, and the czar did not like him because from what I understand, he was very famous for wanting to reach a level of spiritual ascendancy by coming so many times that you would never want to have sex again in your life. So then he would have these sessions where people would just have sex until they literally were sick of it. And that was definitely for ascendancy purposes.
Clearly.
Obviously.
There's no other motive I can think of.
He's just, I mean, who would want to do that? You know?
Yeah.
All right. Well, last but not least, there's just a third one here. So again, also in Wu Zhao Part 2, all three of these were limited to Wu Zhao Part 2. And I do try to pay pretty close attention to see if there's any other points of, relevancy or questions or anything like that throughout the rest of the episodes. I didn't hear any, but this is where you listeners, if you have questions or corrections or anything like that, you can always send them our way. That's going to be at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com. But the third and last one here, also in Wu Zhao Part 2, Akiva, you brought up the medieval notion of people witnessing the consummation of a marriage in order to make sure they had actually done the deed. This is totally true. Mm-hmm. I think even said in the episode, I was like, I thought there was like, they debunked this and were like, not really kind of a thing. This is completely true. This was known as a bedding ceremony and was practiced throughout Europe during the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance. So yeah, it's basically them just being like, nope, we need to make sure you guys did it so that we know that the heir is legitimate. So
yeah, super crazy.
Fun stuff. I just cannot imagine being a virgin and being like, I'm going to have an audience.
Could you imagine? Yeah, this is your first time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, let's be real. Usually the guys were not virgins. So it was
true.
Whoever was
Point taken.
That's true.
The new wife being like,
oh yeah, that actually sucks super bad.
Cool, love this for me.
You're like, I'm 13. Uncle sold me to a dude. And now not only do I have to lose my virginity to this guy that I don't know, but also there's an audience. And they
there's
all
a good
are wearing
chance
little...
you don't speak the same language too, because it could have been somebody coming over from like Austria, and then they married this English
like one of the
person.
Habsburgs just decides to get one of you to clean up the bloodline.
Say what you will about Marie Antoinette, the movie by Sofia Coppola. Like, I feel like she did like a pretty good job of showing the like transition from one state court to another when like they took away all of her Austrian clothes, her dog, and then gave her all new French stuff. And then they actually do show a scene of like the bedding ceremony where she's like, cool, hi, nice to meet you. I guess I have to lay down now. And
I've actually not seen Marie Antoinette.
A lot of people have issues with that movie because she, I feel like, definitely like glorified the fashion aspect of it. But there are like bits and parts of it that are just like really, they're kind of cool. Like it's cool seeing it in film and not seeing it romanticized in a way. So
do you know that they're coming out with a documentary about it?
About the actual movie?
Yeah. So apparently Sofia Coppola's mom was like filming throughout the entire production, and all of that footage she saved, and now they're going to turn it into a documentary.
I mean, they were able to film in Versailles.
That's pretty cool.
Which is like just straight up insane. Like they do not allow that.
So crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm not like a big Marie Antoinette fan, but I will say when I covered my season on General Alexander Dumas, I definitely got a little bit of sympathy for her. Yeah. She was in one instance the like ye old trad wife, right? Like we talked about this in that season where she was so separated from the poor people in her kingdom, whatever you want to call it, that she would had a simulated village where people would pretend to be like quaint peasants selling her eggs and cheese, and she would like go milk a cow and then whatever, right? So like there is that complete removal from society. But then on the other hand, as the French Revolution came along, I do remember reading that the protesters were like trying to storm the palace that she was in and literally threatening to physically eat her, which is like, could you even imagine being in that scenario where it's like, not only are you, unfortunately, a woman who has very little sway on the politics, but a nasty rumor, possibly, maybe something she said, who knows, goes and spreads, and then she becomes, for some reason, even honestly, to some extent, more so than King Louis XVI.
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely
center for hatred. Yeah,
I feel like she was definitely a person who was trapped in a gilded cage, and so she had no idea what was going on outside of that cage until it was too late.
Yes, yeah, and like it didn't make her innocent per se, but it did like, it's sort of like, you know, there's a difference between a reason and an excuse, and she had a really good reason to be the person that she was. Not doesn't necessarily excuse some of her behaviors, but
Agreed.
She was like the target of like so much hate. It's crazy.
I feel like she would be a very interesting person to tackle one of these days.
Yeah, I mean, the French Revolution has got so many delicious characters. I was really happy that I picked Alexander Dumas out of all of them. But like, yeah, dive into it again for sure.
I mean, I've been saying it for years that I really want to do a full series on Napoleon. You know,
Napoleon, yeah.
Kind of seeing even what his experience was like throughout the French Revolution. And he is one of those characters. It's like, I know there is a huge argument to be made that he was a villainous character of history. But then there's also that argument to be made of being like, well, most, you know, like Dan Carlin would say, quote unquote, great men are, right?
Yeah.
Like these huge towering characters of history, there's usually a pretty big element of them being villainous characters, you know, whether it's a Roman Empire or Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan or whomever it might be. It's like shit went down, man. Like, but regardless, they're fascinating and they help shape history. So
yeah. And I think Napoleon especially kind of accidentally bumped humanity towards progress, even if he was really just trying to fulfill his own personal selfish gains, because like the amount of funding and progress that he had to like technological advancements was crazy. Like something that I learned, I mean, maybe might have covered it in the Dumas series, was like apparently canned food was not really a thing. And Napoleon's engineers and armies like helped advance the science of canning to the point where if it was not for Napoleon's, engineers and armies and all of that, there could have been other starvations that humanity has now been spared from by those advancements. And could you say, yeah, that was Napoleon's plan all along? Fuck no. But it was like an association of like, it's kind of like, you know, World War II brought this level of comfort to people in the 50s and 60s that humanity had never seen before. One of those weird ways that they accidentally push people towards the arc of progress, even if they're not really trying to.
For sure. Well, random thought, and this is a slight deviation from our conversation about Napoleon, but I'm curious, Akiva, with you on your way out and Charlotte on her way in. Oh, sorry, I'm having to clear my throat a lot today. What advice do you have for her about the show, researching, writing? What lessons have you learned?
Well, first, and Daniel knows this, get ahead on your writing. More importantly, get ahead on your reading, because sometimes the writing doesn't come to you immediately. But if you've read all of your material, it's super good. But don't get so far ahead that when you go back to write the episode that you need to, it now tastes dry in your mouth. That's like a big one that I've realized is there's like a sweet spot of being a good set of chapters ahead of what you have to write, that it still feels fascinating, but you have some lead time. I would say never, ever, ever try to push yourself to write about a character that you don't particularly find interesting to some capacity, because, I mean, there is, and Daniel and I talked about this when he was coming up with Wu Zhao, there is an endless buffet of beautiful characters to choose from. And just because you're feeling like you have to tell a story or there's a time constraint or something like that, that intrinsic motivation of being of covering somebody that you're already interested in is going to push you so much further than any sense of creative willpower, at least in my personal, I don't know, ADHD is sort of it's a motherfucker, right? So for me, if I'm not actively interested in what I'm writing about, I like it. It is dragging cats through fiery mud, you know?
I have a huge list. And there's some people that I've had to like back off of because I can't get enough information already. But
and even like I'd suggest with that list, writing little blurbs about right now, what makes them so fascinating to you would be good for that moment when you're already 2 or 3 seasons in and you're just feeling like your palate has jaded, right? Like having a little blurb from now when you're still excited about it is going to be huge, right?
Okay, cool.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would
There's
also...
a bunch. I mean, I don't have any fucking... I don't know what I'm doing. That's also another thing. Don't assume that you know what you're doing and don't think you have to know what you're doing. We're really like... Daniel said this fantastically. He said, at best, we are reporters. At worst, we are sort of a gossip page, but the gossip happens to be pretty old.
No, I have to be perfect.
No, don't even try. Right. It's all about, for me, at least, I love the drama of it. Right. If you can get to a point where you are talking about Frida Kahlo the way that you would be talking about some news that you heard about a coworker that you don't like at work, and like, oh my God, I can't believe that she's doing that. That will pull you so much further than trying to be this person with gravitas talking about the historical significance of this thing, right? Like when I was doing Alexander Dumas, we're talking about a general who was invading Egypt and doing all of these things. And what really pulled me through that was the drama of it. Oh my God, I can't believe Napoleon would do that. Right? Like that.
I love tea, so I don't
Exactly.
think that's going to be a problem for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Then you're already set up for success. Let the historians do the historian stuff. We are the just a slightly more highbrow version of the magazines that your mom picked up at the grocery store, right? And that's my pull on it.
I mean, what I will say, though, is that when I spoke to Alana, our new research assistant, about the show, she is a genuine historian and researcher. She has, I think, a master's and might even be working on her PhD. Alana, correct me if I'm wrong about that, though. Knows her shit, knows history.
Oh my God, yeah. Just reading that 6-page thing she sent me, she knows her shit.
She shops at the J store.
What is the J store? Oh. That took me a second.
That's like a really long
academic literature.
Yeah, that was an academic joke that we used to say all the time at Smith. It was like, oh, I gotta go shopping at the J store for an article or journal or something deep divey on this subject.
But no, good call out and good reference. But she specifically said about the show, the reason that she's gotten super into it is that she's like, I feel like more people in the history world need to do what we're doing, which is making relatable stories about human beings, getting to that core of like, these are all just people. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were involved in really big world shaping events sometimes, but really ultimately they're just human beings like you and me. And they got involved in a thing, whether through determination or luck or coincidence, and it ended up being part of something interesting and fascinating, you know? And she said too, and I know, Akiva, you feel the exact same way. I feel the same way. Most often, I feel like at the end of the series that I do, I've made a new friend through this historical figure.
Man, I don't think there's ever been a season where I haven't shed a tear when I find out that this person that I know is dead. You know,
yeah.
When you get to the end of that season and you have, it is such a higher, more involved, more present, more grounded experience to not only read the biography that you're going to base, you know, most of your information on and do the history, but also regurgitate that into your own personal writing. That's why I say it's like gossip, right? And like, and I don't mean that in a reductive way. I mean that in you have now personalized this character. This person is now a friend of yours, and you're going to tell their story for other people to hear in the light that you wish to tell it. And I don't think there's ever been a season that I haven't been emotional, even with Frida, which we talked about was not my personal pick. It was the one where I learned my lesson of pick somebody that you really like to listen to. Although I will fully admit I'm now a huge Frida fan.
Who was your favorite so far?
That's really tough because, as I said, they kind of feel like you're making friends with all of them. It's like having to pick between friends. I think the one that relates to me the most had to have been Leonardo da Vinci, which was my first one. Mm-hmm. He has been a character that I have loved ever since I was a little kid. And what I just found so fascinating about him was the fact that then this is why I like the archetype of the wizard. He is not a wizard. He is just a person who is living the same life as all of us and had these beautiful skills of observation.
He's like what I would call a tinkerer. Like they tinker around with stuff, like, right? They're always, they're dabbling in this, they're dabbling in that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Tesla in a way was like that too. I feel like that's kind of your person.
Tesla was my person as well. Nikola Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci are probably my favorites. But what I loved so much about Mary Shelley and Frida Kahlo and Alexander Dumas was the magic of a biography pulling you into liking a thing that you never liked before. I could not give a shit about Enlightenment history. It was my least favorite. I thought it was like stuffy, wigs, people dying of smallpox, like slavery, just like all these unfortunate situations, and like the drip of the medieval times has now been destroyed, and now people kind of just like wearing lame woolen clothing, right? That's how I felt about that part of history, right? And what was so fantastic about Alexandre Dumas was that he pulled me into this drama, into this story of the French Revolution that had so much more life and fervor and people gripping on for dear life to try to make what their dreams were happen. Mary Shelley was the same way, of like entering into the mind of a person who was born from sad circumstances and lived a sad life and found an incredible level of curiosity and joy. And then Frida was a very similar scenario. Almost a combination of Mary Shelley and Dumas, where there's this revolutionary aspect, but there's also this intrinsic sadness aspect that needed to be expressed. So, yeah, I'm sure I didn't really answer your question in that with who my favorite is. But when somebody asks me, the first one I think is Da Vinci. But really, truly, they are a host of friends that I'd love to have over for dinner. Maybe they all wouldn't get along with one another. Who knows? And each one of them has their own quality that I've come to enjoy over time. And that's not like me trying to be political about it. That's just genuinely how I feel about it. You know?
That's awesome.
It's funny talking about people that you invite over for dinner as a history, historical figure. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson had the best response. Have you heard what he said?
No.
He was like, I wouldn't want to invite anybody prior to maybe 1900 because of how annoying of a conversation it would be, because they would be incessantly being like,
yes,
why is this electricity working? How do these light bulbs work? Like, it would be this like, endless
shut up and eat the dinner.
Right, of like him having to answer questions about like how the internet works, what a computer is, how servers work, that he wouldn't get anything out of it other than him having to explain to these people the world around them currently. So he was like, if I was talking to somebody from at least 1900, they could go like, okay, well, we saw the projected history of industry and machines and everything.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be a little bit less of a exaggerated conversation.
It's a pedantic answer, but it's also a very Neil deGrasse Tyson answer.
But then my head goes to, you're in charge of the setting for the dinner. You could do a candlelight dinner.
That's true.
In a field. Like you could do it. You can make it happen. It doesn't have to be in a modern setting.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh man. Yeah. Just thinking, I'm already getting nostalgic just thinking about all of the different relations that I feel like I've had with these characters as I've gone through them. And I'm really excited for you to feel that sensation, because it's going to happen. It's going to be incredible. And you'll feel, I don't know, a depth, right? You're sitting around a fire and you're telling everybody the story of somebody's life. And, it's not small potatoes. I don't know. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. I'm continuously surprised by how interesting people are that I don't even expect to be that interesting, like even my boy, Mark Twain. I knew it would be pretty interesting. I didn't know how interesting it was going to be until I really got into it. And I was like, this guy lived the coolest friggin' life and did so many weird things and was such a like brilliant mind. Ah, man, I could talk about him for hours and hours. But that's one of my favorite things about the show, is continuously like pulling back the layers of the onions of people that you're like, I think this is going to be an interesting person. And they become even more interesting than you thought. And if not even like the most ultimately interesting, illuminating like what they went through and how relatable it can be. I don't know. It's great. I think you're going to.
And some of the stuff will be completely left field. Like I was expecting to go into Frida the same way I was going into Da Vinci, because both of them were artists. And what I realized about Frida was that Da Vinci's life kind of centered around this theme of observation and creativity and this endless need to create, while also kind of being staunched by his own shortcomings of, probably ADHD or whatever he had. Right. Frida's, I was completely blindsided by the colorful cast of characters situations, tragedies, cultural aspects that played such a huge factor in her life. So like you going into a biography, especially when you finally hit that point where your list is sort of running dry and you're coming up with new characters that were not people that you were curious about before you started writing, you will have no idea of what to expect when it comes to what is it about this character that I'll actually like, right? Mm-hmm. So very often those observations come later. You know, maybe the first episode you're setting up the groundwork and you're like, okay, I got the gist of this person. I maybe watched a YouTube video to kind of give you an idea of like what this person's life is going to be like. So I have an idea of where to go with it. But then as you get into it, the things that fascinated you about them might be so vastly different than the things that fascinated you about them when you first started, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting because like you were just talking about Da Vinci and Frida. And with Da Vinci, yes, he has the need to create. And I think Frida had the need to express. Yeah. And she did that a lot through her art. And like that was how she, I think, in a way, expressed like her troubles, her issues, but also her delights. Like,
yeah, 100%. Yeah. So like you just never know what it is about a character that's going to
make them tick.
Yeah. Make you enjoy them, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I hear you. I'm with you. And that's, I feel like happened almost every single time, even going all the way full back to Mabel. I didn't realize how much I was going to love Mabel. I was like,
or why,
right. Or I thought it was just going to be this kind of funny, like, oh, this little one-off character in history. And then I got into it and was like, this lady's a riot, man.
She was such a connector of people.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. I feel like I'm also haunted by Mabel. And every time I go to like an art gallery, I feel like I see bits and pieces of her
constantly.
Yeah,
it's been a running joke for years now of like somehow we find a connection to Mabel in one of the series that we do. Now we got to take a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't want to get drunk when I'm doing this show, so I don't really want to implement that as a rule, but like it is so relevant, and I constantly, whether it's in my own research or if I'm out, like you said, at a museum or something like that, constantly will either find a name that I'm like, oh, Mabel knew that person, he came to Taos, like whatever, or it'll be a direct reference to her somewhere. It's wild. She's just one of those crazy characters that, you know, I think refuses to go away from me.
Yeah.
And I like it. But okay, I think we're getting close to our time here, so we'll start to wrap things up. Everybody, like always, really appreciate you listening, and hopefully you'll enjoy this transition that we're going to start to go through as Akiva starts to pursue and get into his real dream. That was the thing I've always known about Akiva since the day I met him, is that this is what he loves to do. And he finally gets to do it like truly and honestly full time. Akiva was even saying like he'll start to get benefits through being a blacksmith, which I don't think blacksmiths out there talk to us, but that feels like that's a 1%er.
That is a 1%er for sure, right? Unless you happen to own your own very, very successful business. I'm in a fantastic shop that is really well compensating with a really fantastic culture. You know, it's a queer maker space that's very focused on the well-being of the teachers and the well-being of the students. So I'm afforded all of these fantastic privileges, rights, whatever you want to call them, that I feel like in this career seemed like a far-fetched idea.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to pursue that to its very end. And unfortunately, that means dropping one fantastic thing in order to have a little bit more of another fantastic thing. So
for sure, man. No, I totally understand, and I'm proud of you, and obviously wish you nothing but the best. But obviously, everybody, he still has one more series to go, so he's not out of the door just yet, thankfully. No. And we're gonna have Charlotte to accompany us over the next probably 4, maybe 5 episodes. I think you're still trying to figure out what those are before. Oops,
I'm pretty solid. Yeah, I heard that. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be 4. Okay. Because, like I said, Marcus is a weird character. We know a lot about his psychology, and his history is fairly brief because the amount of history that we have about him is kind of brief. So I'm going to do a 4-part episode, but I just wanted to give, Charlotte and you a little bit of runtime before I went and flew on my wax wings
for sure
into the sun here, into the forge.
No, and we really appreciate it, man. So yeah, for anybody that's in the Denver area, go to Hardy and Fuller. That's just a website, and I'll put the link up on the video here. Go take a class with Akiva. Go say hey. I think we've already had, he said, at least one person, maybe even 2 people that have started to go as a result, which is pretty darn cool. And then obviously go and check out Akiva's website. We haven't really talked about if you want to continue with the Metalwork by Meola Biographers 10%. So I'll leave that up to you. That might be,
we'll continue with it.
All right. That might even be like a shelf life thing for over the next year or something after this, but we'll continue that conversation. But as of now, does it still stands?
Absolutely still stands.
Beautiful. So yeah, everybody go to metalworkbymeola.com. Again, I'll put that link up on the screen, and you can use the code Biographers at checkout to get 10% off of your order. I said it a little bit earlier, but when it comes to questions, comments, corrections, all of our listeners out there, please feel free to send us an email at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com. If you're feeling generous and you want to give the show some support, you can do so by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thebiographers, or you can, if you don't have a couple of bucks to spare, you can just go and give us a nice kind review somewhere on, Spotify or Apple or wherever. We'd really appreciate it. Anything else, guys? I say guys now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. It's inclusive.
We'll go with folks next time,
I wasn't saying it as like a bad term. I was saying it as like normally I'm like anything else Akiva, but now it's multiple people that I'm engaging with here. So that's all I meant.
I say y'all. Just
anything else, y'all?
It covers everything.
No, I feel like I also feel like guys though has gotten to a point of like it's all encompassing. I don't think many people gender it.
Yeah. No, I say the gender neutral dude pretty regularly.
Me too. I call my mom dude. I'm like,
it's the royal dude.
Dude, this food's good, Mom. Well, anyways, everybody, we appreciate you listening. We'll see you back in 2 weeks for the start of Marcus Aurelius. And do remember, like always, ignorance is not stupidity. It is the absence of knowledge. And I do hope you all learned something today.
See ya.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Biographers. For more information, please visit thebiographerspodcast.com.